I always stick around to watch them die. I like it, don't get me wrong. But I mostly do it out of professional courtesy. I need to make sure the poor bastard chokes and turns blue. The whole thing. They say poison is a woman's weapon, no honor, a coward's tool. Maybe. But I don't see how it would be more honorable if I stabbed this man with a dagger or beat him to death with a club. Dead's dead. Sure it doesn't matter much none to him. Besides, orders are orders. I was told poison. So it's poison. I'd ask his preference, but he's a bit busy at the moment. Reeling and scratching at his throat. I caught a fish once that did that. The poor bastard finally stopped moving. I glanced behind both shoulders and went to work. Lady Elizabeth was looking radiant as usual. Everything she did was ladylike. She spoke like a lady, held her fork like a lady, and laughed at all of Peter's jokes like a lady. Her golden hair reflected the sunlight that shined from the open air on the balcony. What would it be like married to her? Her father, Sir Klaus, was one of the closest Ravenschild knights. Nothing was set in stone yet. But Peter was 14 and Elizabeth was nearly that age. Or was she 16? Don't you think, Peter? Of course, my lady. Do you need more wine? He poured her some more watered-down wine. He was the envy of the other squires. His brother was already betrothed to Lady Juliana Northcroft, the daughter of Baroness Sophia. Their union would bring their houses much power and prestige, and Lady Elizabeth was the beautiful daughter of a powerful knight. The Ravenschild house was primed to contend with maybe even the Englands. As treasonous as that thought felt, the raven and the dragon. What do you think? Probably. Judging by her smile, he assumed that was the right response. He nodded along and laughed when she did. What was Brida cooking for supper, he wondered. He reached for a grape and plucked it off the stem. He saw a hammer hang in the air. He wrapped his hand around the candlestick. The hammer cracked and turned the coldest blue before crumbling into shards of ice. He took a breath and kept listening to Elizabeth. She hadn't noticed he was holding the candle. He gulped and slowly let it go. He silently thanked Alyssa. Are you all right, my lord? Yes, my lady, I'm fine. She shot an eye to his hand that was just on the candlestick holder. Are you sure? You look like you've been distracted. Not at all, my lady. How could I be distracted when I'm around you? How's Lady Perfect? Brida asked, dropping Peter's plate in front of him. Fine, I suppose. Peter thumbed the handle on his dirk, chipped. You suppose? You were with her for 2 hours and never got a clear answer on that? Peter, what's with your dagger? Peter turned to see Rex, the blacksmith's apprentice. Excuse me, peasant? You're not too noble for me to smack. Give me the dagger, the pommel's chipped. Peter smiled and handed it to him. Thanks. If only you made it proper the first time. Rex nearly knocked him off the bench. He was Peter's oldest friend at the castle. Rex often took credit for Peter's sword-fighting abilities since they used to play knights and robbers before Peter was even a page. You give me a few days, my lord. It'll be good as new. He glanced at Brida. Brida, you look nice. No, she said, sharp as a lance head. Rex shrugged and put the dagger on top of an empty box before setting off. When he was gone, Peter leaned in. I did have another vision. At lunch today with Elizabeth. Brida glanced around before sitting down next to him. Are you still getting those? I thought your friend in town fixed them. No, she showed me how to manage them. Usually I have a piece of charcoal, but I left it in my room so I didn't mess up my pants. Point is, I saw a hammer freezing and then breaking. That's the vault. It rules the forest. Very powerful. I think it's a gift. Some gift? What does it mean? Hugh threw himself at the table. Peter sighed. He thought he was busy that day. You all right, Hugh? Magnifique. May I have something to eat, s'il vous plaît? Brida gave Peter a worried look before nodding. Hugh scratched at the wooden table, and Peter turned when he saw the squires, Gunther and Emmerich, laughing as they walked through the door. They were looking in at Hugh's direction. Sir Conrad stormed in. "Next time you want to lecture me in front of an anointed knight, I'll have you whipped, you foreign Doomkampf." Conrad turned to Peter. "And you. I expect my good tunic in my room from the washwoman by this evening." Brida came back with a plate of beef and onions and set it in front of Hugh. "Are you still seeing your dreams or what have you?" Hugh asked softly. Peter paused, wondering if he should ask what happened, but just shrugged. Yeah, I had a new one," Hugh said. "Could just be random things you're seeing, and you're giving them meaning after the fact." "It's the vault, Hugh," Brida said. "You have some kind of blessing, Peter, but I don't think you're seeing the future." Peter shoved his plate away. "The night sky strangled by a plant covered in mushrooms. Moon has wings for eyes. Then Sir Elroy, who carries an eagle standard called the Wings of Bavaria, dies by food poison. Then Sir Belbuel's horse charged a crowd and some yeomen shot arrows at him. I saw all of that." Hugh sighed. "You saw something, I don't doubt it, but you don't figure it all out until after the fact, which means you may be looking for meaning that isn't there. But unless you saw a face or a name or something non-symbolic, we can't prove it." Brida shot him a dirty look. "The future is sacred, usually given to people with more with the land and the forests. Not to offend you, Peter, but I don't think a Zauberin would just give you that ability." Peter grumbled and picked at his chicken. He wasn't a huge fan of her tone. Why not him? He hunted, he hawked. He knew the land like these peasants did. He pointed the bones into his mashed turnips. It sort of looked like a deer. "Fine then. Let's try to see if one comes true. What could a hammer represent?" They thought for a moment. "Sir Siegfried has a hammer on his crest," Hugh suggested. "What about the builders?" Brida said. "Or blacksmiths? The masons? I mean, I have a meat tenderizer in the back. Maybe it's me." Peter rolled his eyes. "But the hammer also freezes to death." A new serving girl, very tall, almost as tall as Peter, emerged from the kitchen door. Hugh dropped the spoon. "Yeah, you said it felt cold, and then the hammer turned blue and broke." Brida drummed her spoon against her thigh. "Why would they freeze to death?" "It's cold right now, but it's not that cold if you have a cloak," Hugh asked. "Are there any foods or poisons that can make someone cold?" Brida shrugged. "I can look." What about drowning? You turn blue when you drown." Peter sighed. "The deaths happened quickly after I received them, so we should be able to tell soon." Peter turned to Hugh, who had a smile on his face. "Hugh? Huh? Oh, wait, yeah. Chevalier Siegfried has a hammer on his crest, no? Maybe he's going to, désolé, qu'est-ce talking about? What were you talking about?" Brida turned around and watched the new girl gather plates. "Hildy! Those are clean." "Hildy," Hugh said softly. Peter watched the dragon's eyes. "Vengeance! Blood!" The skull was enormous, and filling its jaws was the Slayer who killed it 6 decades before. Peter stood near the front row with Hugh and Sir Daniel. Peter's father stood at the base of the throne with the other members of the Count's Council. The visitors from Isenisen waited patiently. The crowd that watched shouted for the deaths of Eonin to be avenged, and for the attack on Brother Olman on the days before. The crowd that watched shouted for the deaths of Eonin to be avenged, and some for the attack on Brother Olman in the days before. One visitor from town was dressed in finery, must have represented the merchants. The other was Lorenz, the head of the blacksmith's guild. He was not dressed well, but on his belt was an iron plate, a plate that showed a horseshoe fixed in front of a pair of tongs and a hammer.